Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We have officially reached the absolute breaking point in modern history, a moment where the entire global order is hanging by a single fragile thread. Over the last few days, we have watched the United States make the most arrogant and dangerous mistake in its 80-year reign as a superpower by sailing its massive, incredibly expensive warships right into the narrow, suffocating waters of the Strait of Hormuz to set up a total blockade. We watched in terror as Russia responded by delivering unstoppable 7,000 mile per hour hypersonic missiles directly to the Iranian military, turning the American fleet into sitting ducks. But today, the game has completely changed again because the final, most powerful player has stepped out of the shadows and onto the battlefield with a warning so severe, so utterly ruthless that it has stopped the politicians in Washington and the generals in the Pentagon completely dead in their tracks. China has just drawn a bright, burning red line in the sand, sending a direct and chilling message to President Trump and the United States government that says, do not cross this line, because if you touch Iran, if you fire a single missile at the Iranian coastline, you're no longer just fighting a regional war, you're fighting the full economic and military might of Beijing. To understand why China is putting its foot down right now, you have to look at the money and the global supply chain, because China is the factory of the world, and they desperately need the oil flowing through that strait to keep their cities lit and their factories running. If the United States chokes off that oil, millions of Chinese workers lose their jobs, and Beijing simply cannot allow an arrogant American empire to turn off their energy supply. So they took the gloves off and told Washington that any attack on Iranian soil will result in China immediately dumping trillions of dollars of American debt, crushing the value of the US dollar overnight, and cutting off all exports of rare earth minerals, computer chips, and medical supplies to America. Imagine the absolute sheer panic happening inside the White House right now, because just a few days ago, the American politicians were pounding their chests on television, acting tough and thinking Iran would just get scared and surrender to the mighty aircraft carriers. Instead, the exact opposite happened, because Iran now has the Russian missiles to sink the ships in 2 minutes, and they have the Chinese Beidou satellite system tracking every single American sailor from space, meaning the US Navy is completely surrounded in a perfect, inescapable trap. The American commanders know that if they start fighting, they will lose their beautiful ships and thousands of lives. And the economic advisors know that if the shooting starts, the American banking system will completely collapse, leaving the politicians trapped in a corner, desperately looking for a secret way out so they do not look like cowards on television. This brings us to the most fascinating hidden detail of the last 24 hours, which is the emergency, highly secret trip made by Pakistan's army chief, General Asim Munir, directly to the capital of Iran. The United States cannot talk to Iran directly, and because the peace talks in Islamabad completely collapsed just days ago, Washington desperately needed a trusted messenger, someone who could fly to Tehran, sit down with the angry Iranian leadership, and deliver a hidden plea for peace. Pakistan is the perfect middleman because they share a border with Iran. They have a powerful nuclear army. They have deep historical ties to the American military, and they are the absolute closest friend to China, making them the only country capable of walking this dangerous tightrope. General Asim Munir did not go to Tehran as a boss giving orders. He went there carrying a heavy, desperate, secret message from the United States government, a message begging for a fake victory to save the American president's pride. The United States is secretly telling Iran, let us make a silent deal where you step back and do not fire your hypersonic weapons, and we promise not to drop bombs on your cities, but more importantly, let our American ships just sit in the water for a few weeks so we can take pictures, tell the American voters that the blockade was a huge success, and in exchange, we will quietly drop the banking sanctions and let you sell all the oil you want to China in the background. Washington is basically begging, please let us pretend we are blocking you so we do not look weak, and we will let you get rich in secret. But we must use the cold logic of predictive history to understand if this mediation will work. And the harsh truth is that it will absolutely fail because of China's ruthless final warning. Iran does not need to make a secret compromising deal with the United States anymore, because they look at the geopolitical chessboard and they see that they hold the winning lottery ticket. Why would Iran let the American ships stay in their waters and pretend to be strong when Iran knows those ships are sitting ducks, when they know Russia has given them the power to sink them, and when they know China will protect their economy if things go wrong? China's final warning was the ultimate green light for Tehran, meaning when General Munir delivers this desperate American offer, the Iranian generals will listen politely out of respect for Pakistan, but behind closed doors, they will absolutely reject it. Iran and China share a single historical goal right now, which is not to help the United States save face, but to humiliate the American Navy so badly, so completely, that they never dare to come back to the Middle East again. They want to show every country in Africa, South America, and Asia that the era of American bullying is officially dead and buried. The United States is now trapped in a nightmare of its own making, unable to go forward because crossing China's red line means economic suicide and a sunken fleet, unable to go backward because running away destroys their global reputation and crushes the fiat dollar, and unable to stay still because sitting in the strait costs millions of dollars a day and exhausts the sailors who are staring at radar screens waiting for a missile they cannot stop. The mediation attempt by Pakistan is just a tiny band-aid on a gaping, bleeding wound, showing the whole world how weak the American empire has truly become, forced to use back channels to beg for an escape route from a trap they proudly walked into with their eyes wide open. You have to imagine the intense pressure on General Munir right now, knowing that if he fails to convince Iran to take this fake deal, the entire region could explode into World War III, sending millions of refugees across the Pakistani border and destroying the global economy. But Iran has suffered under American sanctions for 40 years. Their leaders have been targeted, their economy squeezed, and now, finally, they have the ultimate leverage. They are not going to give up this golden opportunity just to make the politicians in Washington feel better about themselves. China knows this too, which is exactly why Beijing stepped out publicly with their warning. They wanted to make sure there was no misunderstanding, no backroom deals, and no way for the United States to sneak out of the snare. When the world hears a superpower like China say, "Do not cross this line," it sends a shockwave through the financial markets, causing oil prices to explode because insurance companies refuse to cover any tankers going near the Persian Gulf, meaning the American consumer is about to feel the pain at the gas pump and in the grocery store in a way they have not felt in generations. Every single item you buy that is delivered by a truck is about to double in price because the United States government decided to play a game of chicken with a country that has hypersonic missiles and the backing of the world's largest manufacturing hub. As a common viewer watching this historic collapse unfold, you must look past the lies on the mainstream news because the television anchors will tell you America is standing strong and diplomacy is working. But the reality is that the Strait of Hormuz has become the graveyard of the unipolar world. China has drawn the final line. Russia has loaded the unstoppable weapons. Iran has locked the target, and the United States is holding a completely empty hand, waiting for a miracle that is not coming. Prepare for the massive economic shock. Protect your wealth, stock up on essentials, and understand that the future will no longer be dictated by Washington, D.C., but by the new Eastern Alliance that just checkmated the greatest military on earth, proving once and for all that arrogance and old technology cannot defeat a patient enemy who knows exactly how to build the perfect trap. To truly grasp the absolute magnitude of what happens next, we must look past the water and look directly at the ticking clock of the global financial markets. Because the very second General Asim Munir boards his plane to leave Tehran, carrying the official Iranian rejection of the secret American peace deal, the entire world will instantly know that the final off-ramp has been completely destroyed. The silence coming out of Washington in the hours following that failed meeting will be the loudest, most terrifying silence in modern political history because it will be the exact sound of the petrodollar taking its final breath. You have to understand that the ultra-wealthy, the massive global banks, and the billionaire investors who actually run the global economy do not wait for the first missile to hit a ship before they panic. They move their money the very moment they realize the American shield is broken. When the markets open on the following Monday morning, we are going to witness a historic violent stampede of capital flight, a massive panic where countries, corporations, and billionaires desperately dump their United States dollars and rush to buy physical gold, silver, and Chinese currency, completely abandoning the American financial system because they know a currency is only as strong as the Navy backing it. And the American Navy is currently sitting paralyzed in a geographic bathtub. This is the exact phase shift I have warned my students about for years. The defining moment where the global South realizes they no longer have to pay the imperial tax to Washington to survive. As the massive Chinese and Russian economic machine steps in to offer a new, secure, non non-dollar trading system backed by real commodities instead of empty promises. The American economy will be left holding a massive bag of worthless printed debt, meaning the inflation you have seen so far in your daily life is absolutely nothing compared to the hyperinflation tsunami that is about to crash into the American middle class. We are talking about a scenario where European allies, the countries that America promised to protect, will quietly start making their own secret deals with Beijing and Moscow to secure their winter heating oil, completely turning their backs on NATO because they see that Washington cannot even protect its own ships, let alone the borders of Europe. Imagine the psychological terror right now for the thousands of young American sailors sitting on those billion-dollar ships in the Persian Gulf, knowing they have been abandoned by their own politicians, staring at radar screens that they know will fail them when the Russian hypersonic missiles finally drop from the sky, while the politicians back home safely argue on television about who is to blame. The American public is about to wake up to a freezing, harsh reality where their government can no longer bully the rest of the world into giving them cheap goods, and the resulting domestic chaos, the anger at the gas pumps, the empty grocery store shelves, and the violent political finger pointing will tear the country apart from the inside out, which was China and Russia's ultimate brilliant goal from the very beginning. They never wanted to fight a full-scale nuclear war that would destroy the planet. They simply wanted to lock the United States in a dark room, turn off the financial lights, and let the empire destroy itself through its own arrogance, its own debt, and its own blind greed. We are living in the most dangerous, transformative decade in the last 500 years of human history, a time where the global maps are being redrawn not with ink and paper, but with underground energy pipelines, digital gold-backed currency. You are witnessing the grand finale of the predictive history cycle, the brutal, unforgiving transition from a unipolar American dictatorship to a chaotic but balanced multipolar reality. And the only way to survive the coming economic firestorm is to stay completely awake, see straight through the cheap propaganda being fed to you on your television screen, and deeply understand the hidden, cold math of global power. Your retirement accounts, your family's savings, and the value of your hard-earned wages are directly tied to an old world order that officially died the moment China issued its red-hot warning. And you can no longer rely on politicians to save you when the storm hits. If this deep analysis opened your eyes to the harsh truth of what is really happening behind the closed doors of international power, if you want to stay one step ahead of the media lies, and if you want to learn exactly how to protect your wealth and your family in this rapidly changing, dangerous new world, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Turn on your notification bell and join our community of forward thinkers. The perfect trap has been sprung. The unipolar world is collapsing before our eyes. The countdown to the greatest wealth transfer in human history has officially started, and I will be right here to guide you through every single shockwave of the collapse as it happens. So subscribe now, stay prepared, and never let the illusion of power blind you to the reality of history.